Are you somebody that really sucks at finishing the things that you start? And because of that, that causes you frustration. Other people around you get frustrated. It erodes your confidence. Well, you're not the only one. In this recent research that I did with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders, the data shows that the top areas of procrastination are business tasks, 56%, health, 29%, and then learning, 9%, and then a few different others. So in this video, I'm going to go over 10 different areas that's really going to help you to start to change this habit that's not helping you at all with reaching your goals. And I want to start off by sharing a really important couple of stories with contrast. And the first one of those is around fear, because fear of failure and fear of success is this energy that really stops us from moving forward. And it can happen at any point because we get certain triggers. So I was running a mastermind event in Bali, and one of the tasks, I would stretch my clients to do certain things, jump out of airplanes and all this kind of stuff. Well, this particular event was around a rock jump, and I decided to do it myself. Actually, some of the clients went first, and then I decided to go up. But when I got to the top, I got frozen. And I think that this point in itself is very important awareness, which is we have these good intentions and then we reach a certain point of it. So I'm right up there, and then my nervous system gets shocked, and then I'm frozen. I want to do it, but I can't. So what happens in this scenario? Well, what happened was one of my colleagues came up and she started to say things in my ear. She started to say things like, "You can do this." But what got me to jump was her saying to me, "Simon, you're a leader. You are leading these people. You need to do that." Right? And it was this challenge. It was this challenge that got me to do it and then complete the thing that I said that I was going to do. So it's very important to recognize, do we have fear of failure? Do we have fear of success? Let me just share the highlights of both. The fear of failure. If we fail, there's going to be this negative emotion where we feel false evidence appearing real. We feel that it's going to come from people, for example, not saying good things if something doesn't go right, looking down upon us, right? The fear of success might be for someone else. For example, well, if I'm successful, I'm going to lose certain people. And all of this is kind of subconscious. So in understanding fear, what we need to do is actually recognize that this is something that we need to really develop around our emotional intelligence as entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders, and also elevate that self-awareness. So we can pause in those moments. Now, sometimes when fight or flight is active and we think we're going to die, we need other people to come in and share certain things to get our mind and our body in a different place. Now, in contrast to that, something that I completed very quickly, and I've really trained this myself, was I did this meditation for about 45 minutes. And I'd gone through this experience of authentic connection games and healing myself as an entrepreneur. And there was this moment with this black ball where something happened, and I basically went through this big spiritual awakening. Anyway, I went through this 45-minute meditation, and this idea for the book and the name and the cover, it all just came to me. And then I got it done within a few months. It was done really, really quickly. And so the reason why that got completed was because I was really attached to the why. It was about helping other people. It wasn't about me. Like, I do enjoy the process of writing books. I've written a few. But for me, it was like, I need to get this out. This is such important information. Now, why do people procrastinate when they go and have an idea, for example, to do a book? Because they don't have the certainty that it's going to do well. If, for example, they knew it would sell well, if they knew that they would get great reviews from their friends, then they would do it. But we don't have that certainty. And so it's very important to recognize that you're always seeking that certainty, right? That it's going to turn out the way that we want, versus what actually comes up, which is this worst case scenario that we always go to. So recognize if that's a pattern for you, going to the worst case scenario, where actually you need to start to train your brain into the outcome, and I'll come on to this later. So I've spoken about the why. I've spoken about the fear of failure, fear of success. The other one, which is number 3, this kind of I can't be bothered. And that in itself is all about energy. Because if we're in a low state, and I've mentioned this in videos before about, being sick, then we're not thinking in the right way. So that meh, that can't be bothered energy is something that we need to shift, and then we see things through. So know the things that impact your energy, things like sleep, meditation, nutrition, fitness, right? The people that you're around, if there's toxicity around, all of these things, we have to become highly attuned to our environment and what's happening and what's causing us to go into this meh, can't be bothered energy. Alcohol is a big one. If you've had a big weekend or you've got toxicity in your body, then that meh is going to happen. If you drunk on Saturday night, definitely Sunday, definitely Monday, most likely Tuesday, and for most people Wednesday too, and you go into this cycle. So that in itself, recognizing that we need to keep our energy high, is key. Next one is we lose hope, right? And so in that case, what we need to do is remember what we're made of. Because certain things can trigger us, and then we go into this loss of hope. It's not going to work out. It's just not worth it. Because what we do is we say, every time before I tried and it hasn't worked out. And so we lose hope in our abilities, even though that they're there. And for you, I can tell you they are there, right? We don't think this is going to work out. So we need to be reminded, because in our own mind, in our own thinking, when we don't have that person to come to us and say, no, like, keep on going. You're 3 feet from gold, right? The next one, saying that you're going to do something and not follow through. It's also a commitment issue. So this may not just be in certain tasks. You may also have this impacting in relationships. So what you need to do is start to look at, where am I committed in my life and why? For example, with certain things with your kids or other areas of your life where you're really committed, look at and unpack why you're committed to those things. Why are you able to stay consistent with those things? Is it because there's leverage whereby, okay, if the kid doesn't go to school, the school's going to come to you and you're going to get in trouble, and so it becomes a commitment. Now, of course, I'm sure that you're a great parent, but you get the point, right? You got to understand that certain things, like, it's just known to be done. It's just a very common practice. It's just, I just would not be not committed in that, because it's part of your values as a parent. It's part of your values as someone that maybe exercises regularly. So really start to unpack the other commitments. And this is what we don't do as individuals. We don't unpack it. We don't sit down, in the moment when we're, in between doing something and not doing it, and go like, why? And the moment we go a little bit deeper, we get awareness and we go, oh, it's because I'm feeling low energy, or it's because that person said that in a certain way and now I'm going to push them away. The next one, not being focused on how life will be on the other side. Earlier, I'd mentioned about, focusing on the worst case scenario. When I wanted to do improv classes because I knew it would help my social anxiety, I had fear of going because my thought process was, people aren't going to like it, I'm going to look stupid. And the looking stupid for me, because I was bullied when I was a kid, was the thing that stopped me from going. So what I had to do to end up wanting to go was to focus my mind on me leaving the event, leaving the improv class, which is a comedy class essentially, where people were saying, my God, that was funny. You were being yourself. You were attractive, like all of these things. So again, if you have the habit of always telling yourself it's not going to work out, it's always going to be the worst case scenario, you've got to start saying to yourself, oh my God, how am I going to feel when I leave? And find evidence of that from your past that pulls that into that particular event. Very, very important. The next one, values. This is huge. This is something which I talk about and teach in my main super high performance process, which is integrity with self. Having and installing essentially a new value where you say, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through on it. If I use the word promise, and it's in my, for example, calendar, a lot for, entrepreneurs, business owners, I say, make it a commitment calendar. If it goes on your calendar, it's a commitment. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to be there. Because what happens when we don't, if we say that we're going to do it and we don't follow through, it erodes trust with other people. I want you to think about this scenario. If you had a friend and you arranged them to go out, for example, and they canceled, how many times would they cancel before you detach the relationship? So why do we do it with ourselves, right? Think about that link. Think about honoring your own commitments and link it really to what frustrates you from others. And then start to line up with who you are and how you want to show up. Also to be a great example. That might be to your kids. It might be to your employees. But most of all, it needs to start within. It needs to start with self. Integrity with self. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. The next one, which is trust. I spoke about that briefly a second ago. The more that you do something, it builds up your own trust within yourself and it stacks. So if you train this habit of starting something and then stopping it, you need to recognize that it's going to massively impact your own confidence, because when you trust yourself, you build your confidence. And the final one, which is recognizing that this is a habit that you just need to break. And the more that you do something repeatedly, and the more that you get these streaks, the more that they build up, then other areas of your life start to improve. So a habit can be formed very quickly, or it can be shifted and reduced very quickly. So you need to start with small things and then start to build up, right? That's why in my community, Super High Performance, if you go into the description, into the link in the description, you got these 3 different quests. And the first one's 90 minutes, and the next one's 7 days, and the next one's 6 weeks. So it starts off and then it builds and it builds and it builds, and it's progressive. So it's important to go through those different stages. And then as you do that, you start to see the benefits at every single stage. By the way, if you want to get access to that, link in the description. And it's just really good at building habits. Finally, I just want to say here, going back to some of the earlier points around fear and other things, it's so important to get accountability, to get support, have people in your corner, because oftentimes we think that that's a negative. Oh, if I have accountability, I'm less than, as an example. No, what accountability does is it gets you into a habit that, and right now, you can't do yourself, but the accountability will get you to do it yourself, so it becomes part of who you are. Because the habit is formed like this. It's a behavior repeated that becomes automatic, that then becomes part of your identity. And that's why in the Super High Performance group, for example, you've got this conscious impact stage, which is a series of questions. Then you've got the habit changing and forming through the meditation process and different challenges, and then go into this 6 week going even deeper, and that starts to unravel even more. And go and check out the results from people who have actually gone through that process. So let me know in the comments, out of all of these that I've covered, whether that's the fear of failure, fear of success, where you feel you just can't be bothered, that you don't feel like anyone's in your corner, let me know which one of these you like me to go into more details, or maybe I can just share some advice with you. And most of all, thank you for staying to the end. You need to reward and celebrate. Maybe that's a cup of tea, maybe it's something else, but celebrate getting here and start to celebrate the other small wins. But today, what I want you to do, the next time that you agree that you're going to do something, have that be a commitment and make sure that you do it. And then just have the awareness in the moment of, oh, that is my new level of, my new value rather, which is when I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to follow through and do it. Because on the other side of that is amazing things for you, your business, and also your level of impact. This is Simon Lovell. I'll see you in another video. Take care.